Here to talk about something I really love, which is Munkireport. The slides will be available from precursor.ca/slides. So first, let me introduce myself. I started Precursor Systems in 1994 in Winnipeg, Canada, and my business plan was to sell only annual support plans, no hourly services. That's why Alan Hancock of Watchman Monitoring calls me the original Mac MSP. I support 35 clients across 6 Canadian provinces, all of whom are what Apple would call micro businesses. Each has between 3 and 25 employees, and I try to provide them with a complete stack of IT services, no matter how small they are. I jokingly refer to what I do as Mac Mini DevOps. In the first part of today's presentation, we'll review the current state of Munkireport, and then in the second half, we'll look forward to the much anticipated Munkireport 6. Munkireport is an open source project begun in 2011 by Arjan van Bochoven. It was originally conceived as a reporting tool for Munki. Munkireport collects data from clients using scripts. It sends the data periodically to a database stored in a web server, and it can then display the data in a web page. Here's a look at a Munkireport 3 dashboard from 2015. And here's a more modern version. To serve Munkireport, you just need a web server with PHP. That web server can be Mac OS, Windows, or Linux. Or if you don't want to set up and maintain a web server, you can use a pre-built Docker container, no muss, no fuss. Munkireport is localized for various languages. And there's some room for custom branding so that your reports look just the way you want. Munkireport is extremely extensible with a modular infrastructure. And building a module is now incredibly easy with the please make module command. All you need is a script that collects data by scraping various preferences or log files, and when you run the command, it will walk you through the steps. In less than 5 minutes, you'll have a module. Perfecting your information gathering script will take longer than making the module. We'll examine that in detail a little later in the presentation. John Eberle, aka Tuxedo, who has made more modules than anyone, gave a great talk on making modules at Mac DevOps, and I highly encourage you to view it. In researching this talk, I found 107 modules. There are 4 modules built in by default: comment module, the machine module, the report data module, and the tag module. And then there are more than 50 official modules that live on Packagist's website and can be updated easily using Composer. There are also some unofficial or beta modules that can be loaded easily from Packagist with Composer. And then there are even more modules that have not made it to the Packagist level yet, but are maintained by their authors on GitHub. Although Munkireport was originally designed to report only on Munki, modern versions can run without Munki being installed at all. So you can now use Munkireport with other RMM and MDM tools. And that means you can, for example, supplement Jamf with Munkireport. There are modules for Jamf, Jamf Connect, and Jamf Protect. Here's the main Jamf module with widgets for enrollment type, purchased or leased, automatic login, the Jamf binary, Jamf commands, departments, buildings, and more. And there's a module for Jamf Connect. It shows you the current password status with a lot of detail. And finally, there's a Jamf Protect module. It shows the Jamf protection status and states. Jamf isn't the only third party that has some support. The Kanji module shows the Kanji binary, the last check-in, and passport usage stats. And there's also a Mosel business module. It shows the Mosel self-service app version, whether location is enabled, sync status, and the organization name. There's a Sentinel-1 module. It shows agent running, active threats, enforcing security and protection, agent version, and management URL. The Microsoft Office module is very useful. It shows a great deal of info on licensing status. There's also a Microsoft Defender module. And another great security module is the DetectX one. The MDM module will show info no matter what provider you're using for your MDM. And there are quite a few backup modules now, including Time Machine, Crash Plan, Backblaze, Arc Backup, Backup to Go, and Archiveware P5. There's a terrific location module, which is very useful in cases of theft. And it's tied into Google Maps and shows very precise information. But if you're going to be using that, make sure you check the legalities for your organization. The hardware report is excellent and gives you model breakdown, unit age, and configurations, and even shows external display information. The network report is also very rich. Just don't have all your client subnets set to 192.168.0.1. The security report is also outstanding. It reports on Gatekeeper, SIP, File Vault, Firewall, firmware password, Find My Mac, Secure Boot, Activation Lock, and more. And there's a special File Vault report with even more detail, including recovery key, bootstrap token, escrows, and more. And of course, there's the Managed Software report to show you how Munki is doing, and it shows successful installs, pending installs, and failing installs, along with errors and warnings. That was just a few of the over 100 modules. Munkireport can also have custom dashboards. They're super easy to construct using a simple, easy-to-read YAML file, and they can even have hotkeys to toggle back and forth quickly. I've made it quite a few for myself, as you can see here. Before I used FileMaker to automate my monthly reporting, I made a custom stats dashboard that I could screen cap and email to clients. I have one that reports on various remote tools to see what people are using to control or to be controlled. It reports on things like Splashtop, ConnectWise, TeamViewer, Remotex, AnyDesk, Blue Sky, Apple Remote Desktop, and more. My Adobe dashboard helps me keep track of all the various versions of Creative Cloud software out there. And I have a CAD dashboard to show the state of software at my architectural clients, and a dental one for my dental clients. Short of making your own module, you can also make custom widgets for existing modules. You just place the custom widget in the local Views Widgets folder, and it's available to be called from a dashboard file. For example, Munkireport has an OS breakdown bar graph in an official module, but I have Jamf Envy, and I wanted a donut type graph similar to what Jamf has. So I just made one by altering the PHP code of the existing Munki module slightly, and my donut looks so clean and simple before Apple Fix software update. Here's what it looks like today after Apple Fix software update, if you know what I mean. Munkireport has a rudimentary API. The author, Arjen van Boeghoven, has provided some example shell and Python scripts to work with. John Crane has an excellent Postman collection, so you can use Postman. And yours truly manufactured a FileMaker tool that uses the API to automate monthly reports to clients. The current version of Munkireport at the time of this writing was 5.7.1, but there is a Munkireport 5.8 beta available with support for PHP 8 and Python 3. The beta has not yet made it to the main Munkireport repo on GitHub. If you want to pick it up, you can find it at Tuxedo's GitHub repo under the MR5 Python 3 branch. So that's a lot of info about Munkireport today, but we have been anticipating Munkireport version 6 for quite a long time now. Arjen van Boeghoven first started thinking about version 6 in 2017. The idea was to rewrite the underlying foundation so that new features could be added. And as part of that effort, some dependencies would also be updated, including Python, PHP, and Bootstrap. Because Laravel is a more complete and fully fleshed out foundation, where many of the features have already been worked through, a Laravel-based Munkireport with built-in security and authentication would allow global search across tables, and it would provide event notification to third parties. It would offer a standards-compliant REST API and have modern authentication built into the database instead of tacked on later. But something funny happened on the way to version 6. First, Apple removed Python 2.7 in macOS 12.3, and a major effort was made to make the modules use a special Python 2.7 compiled by Per Olofsson. This was all accomplished in Munkireport 5.7.1. But then IT security departments started to remove all versions of Python 2. And so John Eberle edited all the modules to make them Python 3 compliant and to use a version of Python 3 compiled again by Per Olofsson. This all became part of the beta of Munkireport 5.8, at least at the time I was writing this presentation. The successful push to modernize Python left one big outstanding security concern, i.e., that security support for PHP 7, used by Munkireport 5.7.1, expired in November of 2022. John Eberle began testing and updating PHP code in all the modules for the Munkireport 5.8 beta that he had started with Python 3. And I'm happy to say I've been using the 5.8 beta, and it's all quite stable and happy with both Python 3 and PHP 8. So now, with Python and PHP already modernized, the goal of version 6 is really down to rewriting the foundation, a task that has been spearheaded by Mosen, aka Mosen. The first modernization task was always to replace the existing foundation based on KISS MVC from 2008 with Laravel. Arjen talked to Mosen, and Mosen felt certain this could be done and offered to help out. Laravel has numerous advantages. Unlike KISS MVC, which was abandoned years ago, Laravel is an up-to-date model view controller architecture where the guts are separated from the GUI. Laravel has built-in secure authentication so that Munkireport developers don't have to waste time reinventing the wheel. It has built-in communication abilities too. And it has a variety of built-in security functions, again, freeing up Munkireport development to focus on features. Arjen van Bochoven talked at Mac DevOps last year about why there is such a delay in this modernization project that began in 2017. For one thing, the main authors have changed jobs, and they no longer actively require Munkireport for their work. They literally work on it because it's fun. But fun only gets you so far because Munkireport 6 requires 324 open source packages. And when you're only working on the project part-time, that makes it a bit like herding cats. Arjen has talked about the skills required to accomplish this development. He says it needs someone with both Mac admin skills and full web stack development skills, a very small subset of the population, it seems. So what does Munkireport 6 look like so far? Well, the GUI has not changed much, and it's really only affected by the thematic changes in Bootstrap 4, which cause display problems if the module code has not been updated yet. For example, here's a look at the login screen with a version 5 for comparison. There's not much to see different here. Here's the Munkireport 6 default dashboard. Again, nothing too exciting here. Here's the MDM report in Munkireport 6. You can see that it still needs some work for GUI consistency with Bootstrap 4. Here's an error I pulled up trying to use the location module. It's not working at all at the time I was writing this. So let's talk about feature changes in Munkireport 6. The first thing we should talk about is authentication. Because authentication is something built into Laravel, instead of tacked onto Munkireport, the local authentication has completely changed. The YAML style user declaration files and specifying users in the .env or config.php file is no longer supported. That means you cannot create a local user with the old methods. Users are now stored inside the database and log in with an email address, which is better for communications. You can no longer use the noauth login method. Users are now created with the PHP command, please user create. You are asked to provide a name, then your email address, which is used at login instead of the name, and a password. Now, if you want to correlate users to business units and machine groups, you would create the business unit and machine group first and then use the machine key as your password when you run that command, please user create. Full documentation for the new local authentication is currently available in Mosen's GitHub repo. So that was authentication. Now let's talk about APIs. The new Laravel underpinnings permit a more fully realized API, and the good news is that it has standardized documentation from Swagger. You can regenerate the Swagger documentation using this command. The documentation looks great, but the bad news is there's not a lot of documentation yet. Mosen told me, quote, basically there's a GraphQL endpoint that supports dynamic queries, which you can get a local developer console at GraphQL Playground for messing around. He says the auth can be either session-based or you can generate API tokens. And I tried to do that. This is the example Mosen provided to me, but I don't know what to do with this. The gotcha, he says, is that the old database API is still more flexible because not every module has an API schema yet. So let's take a look at the old API. Talking to the API in version 5 was a two-stage process. That has become a more complicated three-stage process in version 6. Stage 1 is to get a cross-site request forgery token from the login web page and capture the cookie in a cookie jar variable. That cookie variable will have a session token in it. The CSRF token will appear in both the returned HTML web page's meta tag in the head section of the web page, and it also appears as a hidden input field called _token in the body of the HTML. Now that you have the CSRF token and the cookie, you can then curl to the login page a second time, but this time you supply your login credentials, that is your email address and password, plus the CSRF token and the session token that, with the cookie that you captured in your cookie jar variable. This will supply you with a 340-character Munkireport session token in the returned header. And you need to reference the set cookie tag, not the plain cookie tag. Now you can curl a third time to get data from the module by supplying the web page token, the email address, the password, the Munkireport session cookie, and the CSRF token. The API will now return your data in a JSON file. I wrote this procedure up on the wiki at the main Munkireport GitHub repo. Now, I mentioned earlier that making a module was easy. It's so easy that it works both with version 5 and version 6 because the existing make module command is already making code that displays properly in both versions. In fact, it's so easy to make a module that I've already made a few myself, and I would like to demonstrate the process right now. It takes so little time that a module can literally be built in the time I'm going to take to describe it here. I considered doing it live, but I didn't want to tempt fate, so I'll be screen capping most of the processes. You really only need two things, a script that gathers information and the please make module command. To demonstrate, I decided I'd like a Munkireport module that showed me the state of the new limit IP tracking feature in network settings. This setting obscures your IP address and can make some services, for example, FileMaker, not work if they were expecting a real IP address from a defined range of real IP addresses in order to meet security requirements. So it would be nice to know which computers are using this feature and which are not. Now, I don't know how to test for this, but Joel Brunner does, and he wrote a script that's available on GitHub, and it's free to use. It has a cool function in it called limit IP tracking, and that function will return the state of the setting. So after cding into the Munkireport directory, I just run the please make module command, and it will ask me a few questions. First, it asks where I want the module, and I'll choose the /local/modules directory. Then it asks for the name of the module, and I'm going to call it limit IP tracking. It asks how many database fields I need, and since it's such a simple module, I only need one. I will then provide a descriptive name for the field, i.e. status with an uppercase S. And then the actual database field name will also be status, this time lowercase s. The type of field is going to be Boolean, since the status is either on or off. And it asks if I want an index of the field, and yes, I do. Finally, it asks whether I want a widget to display the info from this module, and yes, I do. I want an informational button widget. After it asks whether I need more than one row per machine, it then displays a summary of the database template for this module and asks if I want to continue. I say yes, and boom, the module has been built and lives in the local modules directory. Here's a look at that directory. It has all the PHP files, including the controller PHP and processor PHP. It has a migration setting, a YAML file to show what listings and reports are provided, and you can see what are provided in the views folder, i.e. there is a listing, a report, and a widget. And it has a locales folder with an English file with nomenclature and titles already filled in. And finally, a script folder with a bare-bones script template ready to go. With the module made, I can run the please migrate command to populate that table into my database. It takes 2 milliseconds to complete the task. Now we're ready to take that script template and inject the clever function from Joel Brunner. Here's what the script template has provided for me. All it needs is the so-called business logic. It even tells me replace echo in the following lines with the data collection commands for your module. So instead of status equals echo as a variable, we're going to make it status equals limit IP tracking as a variable. And then we're going to cut and paste the function from Joel Brunner's GitHub repo where we found that script. Easy peasy. When the client is updated, the new module, the script will be created in the USR local Munkireport scripts directory. And when run, it will save the status state into a text file in the cache directory that lives below that scripts folder. To be able to see the module in Munkireport's dashboard, we'll have to edit the modules listing in the hidden.env file to include our new module. And now we're ready to create a new client installer that will have this module built in. We create the client installer package with a command like this. And then, once installed, we can run Munkireport on that machine and collect the info and pass it to the database at the Munkireport server. Here's the command to run Munkireport ad hoc. When we next log into Munkireport, we find that there's a limit IP tracking report available under the Reports menu, and it shows data for the 2 computers I have installed the client on so far. It looks great. It takes less than 10 minutes to achieve this, but it still needs a little tweaking. For one thing, we'll want the title to not be status, but rather limit IP tracking. So I just edit the new title into the locales file, en.json, and instead of that default laptop icon, I chose the little spy guy that Font Awesome calls user private. And I edit that icon into the widget's YAML description file. Because Canada is a bilingual English-French country, I'll create a French locales file too. And in less than 10 minutes, I made a new module. So now there are 108 modules for Munkireport. Now I know you're saying this is great. How can I get this test environment set up and start contributing on the project? If you'd like to test out Munkireport 6, the best way is to read the wiki article Quick Demo 6 at the main Munkireport GitHub repo. You can get the code from Mosen's Work in Progress GitHub repo. And then you'll need the modules from Tuxedo's MR5 Python 3 repo. That's a little bit convoluted, so here's a bit more info you may require. Assuming you're using macOS Apache, you'll need to install PHP 8 via Homebrew and code sign it. I have documented that procedure in some detail on GitHub. It's not as hard as it sounds. Download the version 6 code from Mosen's Work in Progress repo on GitHub, and I usually place it in users shared directory. Now you're ready to install the dependencies using Composer. This process is detailed in the wiki, so I won't go over it in detail here. caution. At the time I wrote this, I had to make the following edits to the composer.json file that Mosen posted. He's supposed to be updating this, but at the last time I checked it, it was not yet updated, so you might need that information. The other day, Mosen and Tuxedo started talking about creating a special Munkireport 6 Python 3 branch and promised to update the composer file. So you might not need those edits I mentioned in the future, but as of last night, you still do. Create the invisible.env config file and edit it for the database. Create the database, set up its tables with the please migrate command, and make sure the database folder has read-write privileges for the web user. Then create a user with the please user create command and make that user an admin in the .env file. Don't forget you'll need Python 3. The Per-Olufsen compilation is the recommended version. Now you can set up the client software on your local computer using this curl command. And you're now ready to run Munkireport and acquire some data from your local computer that you can log in to view. Now you're ready to deploy Munkireport 6 to your fleet. Just make a client installer package and distribute it to your client computers. If you set up your own Munkireport 6 and you're testing and improving the code, I think you will want to make pull requests on the Mosen Munkireport work in progress repo. And if you're improving module display, then you may want to submit your changes to the Tuxedo branch of his repo, the MR5 branch of his repo. Or if he does the MR6 one, it would be there. So the code is spread over 3 different GitHub repos, but at least they're listed in this presentation. For the latest information on Munkireport 5 or 6, you should always check the main Munkireport repo and its wiki at github.com/Munkireport. So that's my presentation on Munkireport, but it wouldn't be complete without mentioning some of the key figures. Here's a brief Munkireport Hall of Fame. It doesn't include everyone who's worked on this project, so my apologies to anyone I left out. But here's hoping that some of you in this room begin contributing to Munkireport 6 because after all, it's just fun. Thanks for listening, and I hope you found this useful.